Hello everybody. Welcome to our Christmas Janome Club, brought to you by Janome Australia. Today we're going to be doing some embroidery, and I'm going to be using a built-in design that is a little fringe flower, but I'm going to use it in some layouts that will give you different effects for Christmas. We will be supplying you with all of the designs that I go through today, the 3 separate layouts that I've done, plus the 2 individual fringe flowers. So the 2 fringe flowers do come as a standard built-in design on the Merrycraft 15,000, 14,000, the 9900 and the 9850, we believe. Yeah. The full list will be in the chat anyway, of all the designs, but we will be supplying them. They'll go on our website over the next couple of days. So if we go over to this camera, I can show you what we've been doing. So this is a couple of different designs that we've made up using this fringe flower. So I'll just grab this one here and you can see that it is a 3-dimensional flower. So when it is stitched, let me get my little other sample here. Put that there. So when it is stitched, it is like a very large satin stitch that stitches around the center part, and then it's held down by the center little part of the design. And then you cut the either bobbin thread or the top thread, depending on the effect you want, and you pull the threads through to the front and you get this 3-dimensional little flower. So depending on what machine model you've got, there are various fringe designs available as built-ins, plus there are a number of fringe designs that you can buy from all of the online embroidery places that you would get your normal embroidery designs from. So what you will get when we load them up onto the website is you will get a single flower. So it is a single colour fringe flower. There is also a triple colour fringe flower. So this one you may be able to see a little bit better on this design here, that there is 3, it does 3 different colours around the actual flower. Plus you will get the wreath with the Merry Christmas, the Christmas tree, and also the little bib or onesie design, which is the Santa Claus milk and cookies design. So those 3 designs plus the 2 little flowers will be up on our website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on the machine actually getting the designs here and making your own layout with them on my machine. So I'm going to go into the edit screen first. Now on here, I want to choose the hoop that I'm going to work in. I've got the SQ14 hoop. So I'm going to go in and select my hoop size and choose my size 14 hoop. Then I want to bring in the design that I'm going to work with, which is the fringe flower. So on this machine, I'm on the Merrycraft 15,000 Quilt Maker Edition. So I've gone to Home, and the floral icon will always be your design folder. And then you will go in and you'll find your fringe designs. On this machine, it's on the 3rd page, and it's fringe design number 4 on the 3rd page of this one. And it is the single individual colour, so it'll do 1 colour for the outside and 1 colour for the inside of the flower. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a couple of the onboard editing features that you could do to create the Christmas tree. So first of all, I want to resize this to be the star at the top of the tree. So I can go onto my resize button and I'm going to take this down to 80%. Then we're going to move it right to the top of the screen. So that will become my star of my Christmas tree. I'm then going to bring in another fringe flower. And I'm just going to take this one up. So it's just below the previous one, flower. Now with this particular design, you can overlap the satin stitch part, but you just have to make sure you do not overlap the center circle of the design with any previous. So if I wanted to, I could move these up so that they do overlap themselves a little bit. You just have to make sure it never crosses the center circle. And then I'm going to show you now, if I want to, I can either keep going back to home design, bringing that design in, or because I want the same design, I can copy it. So I'm going to use my copy paste function. And what that will do is it's put another design right on top of the previous one. So now if I move this down, you'll see that there's my second design. A lot of people don't realise that that will copy and paste on top of it. We have a few customers sometimes that will ring us and say, a design stitched out twice. And quite often it's because it's been copied, and because it sits on top of it, it's a little bit hard to see it. But you can generally tell once you go to your stitch out screen, if it's showing you like, twice as many stitches as you thought it should be, then you've done, you've copied it at some point. So now I've got this second one. I'm going to, oops, sorry, wrong button. I'm going to move it over. And the other thing I'm going to do with this design is I want to recolor them. So if I scroll through and find, it looks like a rainbow, that's my recolor button. So this flower is currently blue. I'm going to take it to green, and I'm going to make it like a mid sort of green, and I'm going to give it an orange center. So there is my fringe flower that's green. Now, if we're going to copy this one again, we can go up to copy paste, and then I know my one is there. Then if I want to take one of these flowers and bring it down to the bottom, we can also drag straight on the screen, and I can recolor this one to be a darker green. Oh, and we'll give it a different color center too. Let's give it a red center. No, wrong one. We'll give it a dark green. We'll go to thread number 2. We'll give that a yellow center. So now we want to copy and paste this one. We're going to take one over here and one over onto the right. Oh, we need another flower at the top. So let's grab this one and copy and paste it. And we'll take that up the top there, and we're going to recolor that one. And the reason I'm recoloring a lot of these is I'm going to show you how you can do a color sort as well. We'll make our little star up here. It can be gold. And if you do want to put another design down the bottom to be a little trunk, we can copy and paste a final design and take it down. And then we can recolor this one. Let's make it like a dark brown. Okay, so there's the start of our Christmas tree. Now, if I went over, so I've just copied and pasted multiple designs. If I now go over and said, yep, I'm happy to sew this, and we go over to our sew out screen, ready to sew screen. So I'm going to set my machine up. It will ask me what hoop I've got. Yes, square 14. What you can see here is telling me there's 16 colours. And if I show you this colour range here, what it's going to do is it's going to stitch out each one of these designs. So it'll stitch out the outside of the flower, then it will stitch the inside of the flower. Then it will go to another flower and stitch the outside and then the inside. That's a lot of colour changing for us. So we would like to colour sort this so that it will group those together. So if we go back into our edit screen, I can then change the order of this. So it's going to go in a nice order and do the different colours in sequence. So I would click on my order sequence key, and I'm now just going to go through and touch each part of the design on this tree to put it into a sequence. So I'm just going to start from the top, next one down, then we're going to go across the middle, then we'll come back and finish with the trunk. So now that we have colour sorted, when I go to my sew out screen, it's now telling me, oh, did it sort it? No, I don't think I hit okay.
I don't think you actually pressed the right.
No, I didn't do colour sort. Sorry, I've sequenced it. Now I have to colour sort, which is our colour sort key.
Yeah.
Okay, here it will show me now the different sequences that it will have with the groups. So we've got one group, which is the top star. The second group will be my first part of the tree. The third group, you can see now it has grouped those two together. And then our fourth group will be the three bottom ones together. So now we can click OK. This is much better. So now it's telling me I've only got 10 colours. And you can see if I were to jump through these, if I get down to the next one, what you'll see here is it will then stitch out the outside part of those two flowers first before it moves on to the inside part of those. So you have less colour changes when you sort it. To be able to sort it, you do need to have all the ones that are the same colour in sequence order. So if I didn't do that sequencing first, it may not automatically sort them into a sequence. Okay, so that's a bit of our onboard editing that we've got on the machine. You can resize, we could move them around. There's lots of other things that you could do. You could add in some text, like the, Merry Christmas or anything like that. But we're going to click OK and say we're ready to sew this out. Now we're going to go over to our other camera. And I'm going to move these out of the way. And I will bring in my hoop. Sorry, this will probably be upside down for you, but what I have is I have my hoop here and I have hooped it up with a wash away stabilizer. Now, if you're not sure what stabilizer to use for your particular project, please visit your local Janome stockist and they can advise you. You can tell them exactly what you're stitching, what you're stitching onto, whether it be a T-shirt, cotton fabric. We're doing towel today, and then they will be able to advise you of the exact correct stabilizer for that project. So what I'm going to utilise is I'm going to utilise both my template plus the little notches on my hoop to allow me to align my towel first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you here off the machine, but then when I put it on the machine is when I would lay it down for the final time. Now, the other thing I have done is on my towel, and I'm hoping you can see this line here, I've actually stitched that line in with some thread. Normally I would just press the centre line with your iron, but I've stitched that line so that you can see it. So that's my centre line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my towel over my hoop, and you can actually feel through the towel to these little notches that are in the centre position of your hoop. So I'm just going to feel for that little notch and feel for the little notch up the top there. And then the other way you can check is that you can put your template down to get it in. The template is a little bit trickier when you've got a towel or something bulky. So just again, feel for those little notches because it won't sit down in the hoop like you would for if you just had cotton fabric there. And then you can just adjust if you need to so that the lines on the template that run horizontal line up with any sort of markings, or this has got the band on the towel, so that we know that then that would set up. Now for a towel, the bib, anything that's got a pile, so a pile on the fabric is something fluffy. So if you think of velvet or fur, anything like that that's got texture to it, you do need to put some sort of topper as well. So this is a wash away sort of solvy fabric. It's like a plastic wash away, and it's really good because you can see through it. It allows you to put it on top of your work, especially if you've got reference lines that you're trying to line up so that you can see that. And that will then, and then we're going to tack this all down together, and then you can do our embroidery. So we're going to move over to the machine, and we will put our hoop on. Just going to adjust the cameras. We're over here.
Okay.
Okay. So the machines will always remind you which hoop we're about to stitch in. It's much more important, obviously, if you're stitching a big design and you've only put a smaller hoop on. You will going to cause some damage if you do that. So I have threaded up. I've got green thread on, so I'm actually going to skip through. If I click this little single colour, it will show me what number 1 will stitch out as. That's it isolates the actual step. I'm going to step through, which I'm using my arrows just to step through the different colours till I get to my first part of my Christmas tree, which is this first fringe flower, because I've already threaded up with green thread. I have got my P foot on, which is my embroidery foot, and I also have my straight stitch needle plate. And I've got bobbin fill on a bobbin underneath. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring my hoop forward, use my hoop move key and bring my hoop towards me. And I'll get Peter to change over the other camera.
Okay, we're on the.
Okay.
We can see that.
So you can see there, I've put my hoop on with my wash away stabilizer. I then
We're looking from the back.
have my towel. Yes, you're looking from the back. I'm then going to place my towel on top here. And again, I'm just feeling for those little notches where my stitch line is that I've got down, running down the center. And I've got that nice and smooth. And then I'm going to place my solvy or wash away stabilizer in under there. So that's now 3 groups, but the towel and the solvy is not joined to anything yet. So the first thing we actually want to do is a baste. So I might just need you to jump back to, so we're going to run a basting stitch. It's this little icon at the top here, which has got 4 arrows going around. And this will come up. This will allow you either to check your corners where your design will finish. It will trace around, or we can actually do a baste. I'm actually going to do a baste, which is this first one. This will do a baste just around the outside of your design, or you can do a double baste, which will do a baste outside and inside. I did this particular one on the bib because the bib had 2 layers of terry toweling, sort of like that makes up the bib, and I didn't have any way of stabilizing them together. So I actually did that double baste, but on the single layer towel, I can just do the outside baste. So what I need to do is I'm going to hold on to my top thread.
Coming from that side.
We're coming from over there. I'm holding on to my top thread and go into my baste. and we are ready to go. And I'm just holding very lightly. Oh, I didn't hold my thread enough. There you go. No, you will stop it. If you don't hold on to your thread enough, it has didn't pick up. I will start again. Okay, let's go into our baste. I'm actually going to bring up my bobbin thread here just so I've got them, just because the basting stitch is a very loose stitch. So I've got both of my threads here, and it's going to start. There we go. Now, as you can see, I'm not putting my hands near the actual foot, but I am sort of smoothing out the wash away stabilizer just so it doesn't crinkle up too much. And what the wash away on top will do is it will hold all the stitches that the machine is making. Will stitch out the design. It will hold them up above that pile of what you're stitching on. So because if you just didn't use a topper on here, the stitches would all disappear. And especially if you've got font, like text, you will find that half the font will disappear from the little loops of the actual towel. So now that I've basted that all together, it's not going anywhere. So we are ready to stitch out our design. So we're going to stitch out that first part of the tree. So this design stitches a satin stitch around the outside that creates the fringe part. And then it stitches the centre to hold all those stitches together. So once it's stitched out this one, I will show you what it looks like when it's finished stitching. And then I will show you how to actually cut the stitches depending on the effect that you want. These look lovely on, there's a lot of that beautiful Australiana fabric out at the moment. You could do these in yellows for some wattle. You could do a bunch of them together in reds to make like a bottle brush. We've done, as I said, a couple of these different designs to make some sort of Christmas theme. But there are so many different things that you can do with these flowers that aren't just a flower. You know, you can really utilise this in multiple different ways. So once it's stitched out this part, I will take it off the machine and show you. Okay. The next step. Okay. So this is the first step that it does, which is that large satin stitch. And the next step it does, it comes in and stitches around the centre. And you can see there that that wash away on top is holding all of those stitches nice and proud up away from the towel. So this is what it would look like after you've stitched them all. And then if I turn it over to the back.
Kathy, we can't see it. Kathy, we can't see it.
Oh, wrong camera.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Did you see this bit?
No, because I pressed the wrong button.
Oh,
sorry.
There we go. So this is that first step stitched out. So it stitched out my outside of my flower, which is a large satin stitch. The next step will be to stitch and secure in the middle, and you can see my basting stitch around. So if we go to one that I've prepared earlier, which is here. So you can see the centres of these secures all those little satin stitches. And if we turn over the back, With the fringing, what you want is you want to still be able to see some of your bobbin thread. So if your tensions are out a little bit and you cannot see bobbin thread, you need to adjust your tensions and maybe tighten up your top thread a little bit. But you want to be able to see, so very good to use a contrast thread. When I did the little bib here, which is actually, this one's all fluffy because it did get washed. When I did this one, I still just had white on the back, but when I went to cut it, it was very hard to work out which was the stitching on top to the stitching underneath. So if I was doing white on top, I would probably put a different colour bobbin in, just so you know which one is the bobbin and which one is not. Now, if I go to this sample, I can show you the two different ways that you can cut. So I don't know if we can zoom in, say here. Okay. So on this red and gold flower, you can see, if I grab some of the loops, you can see I've actually got loops. So all of these are loops. This is one where I've cut just the bobbin thread on the back. And I'll show you that in a sec, but I'm just going to show you. So you can see all the loops on that one. Whereas the green ones on this design, they've got no loops. They're like, and they sort of will get fluffier. So this is a really good one, especially like for wattle. This one is where you just cut the top threads. So I'll show you what I mean by these two things, and then you'll get an idea of what the different effects are. So if I do my top circle here, this is cutting the bobbin thread only. So I'm going to get my scissors in under just the white stitching. So the white thread here is my bobbin fill. And I'm going to just snip.
And there's no stitches underneath that?
No,
at all?
The only thing underneath there is my stabilizer. This one we did with a tearaway stabilizer, which is there. So it's quite, or you can do, I've done the same with the wash away. You can easily slide your scissors in underneath a little pair of really nice fine nose needle scissors are good. You could also use your, oh, look here.
Little Stockist.
You know, I just got a magic person that just came and gave me some scissors. Some little fine nose scissors are really good to get in there. I have done it also with a quick unpick, but I do find that you tend to sometimes go off a little bit. I find you have a lot more control with scissors. And I just grab some of those white threads and snip them. And then eventually you will just pull out the stabilizer. So if I just turn over to the front. So on the front here, we can start to tease up this satin stitch and tease it away from my towel. This is the bit that we've cut. And there you go. You've got all those little loops that were stitched there.
Hang on, I gotta focus.
Okay, I'll put it down and not touch it. So you can see here. So this is cutting it from the bobbin fill only. The other option you've got is to cut the top thread. You can either cut it from the top where you stitch in and cut around. I find it easier to cut it still from the back because I find occasionally when people have cut it from the front, they've actually cut their fabric. So I find, again, I go over to my back, but instead of just cutting the white part, I'm actually going to cut the coloured threads around the edge of this circle. So I'll show you again. I'll just put my scissors in underneath the threads. And you can see here that I'm now up where the green section is, and I'm going to snip there. And you just want to work your way around and snip there. So I've now snipped all the green threads. So now if I go back to the other side, and we'll tease this part out. So they give you the same sort of effect, but you'll find that this one where you've cut the actual green threads, it will go much more fluffy. So the more you wash it, the fluffier that will get. And that's why I was saying, say, if you're doing wattle or a flower or something where you wanted, so on this particular wreath one, not that this will get washed, but on this wreath, because I wanted the two slightly different effects, all of the green flowers I've cut the actual thread, whereas the red and gold flowers I've cut just the bobbin fill, just to give a slightly different texture in them.
Mm-hmm.
And here's so this is a little example. One of the girls, I think Katrina, did this one with these. So the green ones are the single colour and the red and gold are the triple colour. So it just has 3 different colours that it stitches down on the satin stitch part. And then the wreath does have the Merry Christmas on it as well. You've got other options as well. You can stitch twice around the satin stitch before you do the centre. So this design here, we've stitched a dark green first, and then we've stitched a brighter green over the top. And that will give you another effect of a two-tone and very fluffy. And with the little bib, I did 2 layers again. We did a sort of soft grey, and then I did a white over the top. And then this one has got a little applique belt on it. So you could put this on a T-shirt, a onesie. We've done it on a bib. It fits in the SQ14 hoop, so it fits in your smaller hoop. And then I have washed this one to take all the wash away stabilizer out. And then that has also helped fluff these up to look like a little beard for Santa. So they are just some, I don't know if there's been any questions or whether
There's been lots of
anybody.
questions.
Oh, they've all been answered. That's good. I'm glad all the questions have been answered. We thank you very much for joining us today or any other time that you've joined us for Janome Club over the year. It's been really enjoyable being able to still connect with everybody when we haven't really been able to get into store. Hopefully, going forward, we'll be able to get back into store. So please, if you'd like to have Janome educators come out and do some training or show off some product, please let your store know and they can book in. We've got educators throughout Australia and New Zealand that are available to come and do in-store presentations and workshops and the like. And we hope to see you next year. We'll be back. We will still be doing the Janome Club every month next year. It's been very successful, so thank you very much for joining us. And from Janome Australia, I would like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So thank you very much for joining us.